So I had a crazy pregnancy, an awesome recovery, and I am a special needs mama. My name is Brooke Miller, and I'm a miraculous mama.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Miraculous Mamas podcast. I'm your host, Elizabeth Joy, and we believe in empowering women through storytelling and education. And this week we have Liz Svatek on, and I'm super excited to sit down and chat with her about mom life, about taking time for yourself, which is something every mom struggles with. But she has some amazing tips and tools to help you do that. Before we dive into the interview, if you're listening, make sure that you are subscribed to the podcast, that you leave us a review. When you leave a review, it makes our podcast more available, more seen by other listeners. So it means so much to us when you do that. And then share with your family and friends, people who you know would get something out of this podcast. Also share with me what topics and guests you'd love for me to bring on this year. I love hearing from you and reaching out to the people that you send to me. I want to give you guys what you want to hear. Also, make sure that you follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and check out the Miraculous Mamas Facebook group. I love those ladies in there. They are just amazing. This last weekend was Valentine's Day. It is the month of love, you guys. So, I'd like to hear what you guys did. I'm not a huge Valentine's Day celebrator, but, I think that it's kind of an excuse to like have a date night or do something like that. But I don't, this year's a little bit different. But I'd still love to hear how you guys are celebrating the month of love. I'm just excited for this interview today. It's been, I wouldn't say it's been a rough week. It's been a pretty good week for me. But it was just also refreshing just to talk to Liz, because it is hard to put yourself first. Not first, as a mom, that doesn't really happen, but just even putting yourself on the list of things to take time for that day. I feel like Jovi's finally getting in a groove and a routine. Her bedtime's, the same time every night, and she goes down pretty easy now. She definitely does not sleep through the night, which is fine. But I can count on that bedtime to kind of put her down and have a couple hours to get some stuff done or take time for myself. My goal is to not have to get stuff done after she goes to bed so that I can just relax with Vito or do something for me before bed. Tonight, that is not happening. It is 8:00 and I will be working for a little while, but that is okay. You're going to have days like that. We are in this together, in this mom thing. I feel like once you're in it, you're like, oh, I get it now. I have to admit, I was judgmental towards some things before becoming a mom. I'm like, I just don't get it. And now I'm like, oh, I do get why this happens or why you feel that way, or, how things could just kind of pile up in your life. But yeah, I have such a great time interviewing Liz, and we're going to start the interview. All right, everyone, I have Liz Svatek here, and she's the founder of The Warrior Moms, which is an online community of moms that is inspiring to that one phrase that we all hear, kind of put yourself first. And all the moms are like, wait, how do I do that? Like, wait, I have a kid. I have a partner who's needy, so basically I have even more kids. And, where do I fall into the picture here? So I'm super excited to talk to her. She is a speaker. She has her own podcast, and she's just killing it in career and life. So thank you so much, Liz, for coming on and joining us.
Oh my gosh, thank you for having me today. This is so nice to be in the hot seat because I'm always interviewing other people, and you're going to come on my podcast, so I'm making you come see me too.
Yes, I'm super excited. So just for all the listeners, tell us in your own words who you are and how did you get to where you are now?
Well, I'm Liz Svatek. You know what? I think it started with like the mom blog days, like back in the day. I mean, I was a OG. We're talking 15 years ago. I was one of the first mom bloggers. I went down that rabbit hole because my son was born with a really kind of rare physical condition. He was born with right arterial thrombosis, which basically means that he had all these blood clots in his arm when he was born. So he had a stroke. He almost died. They were going to amputate his arm. I felt like I had literally taken, and I'd already been through infertility, by the way. So I kind of thought I was done. Mm-hmm. I was like, I've done my hard times. I've done in vitro. I'm done now. Okay, bye now. No. Mm-hmm. So then when I had him, I went home from the hospital without a baby, which was, I don't wish that on anybody. I did bring him home 52 days later. And he is better and fine and all these things. But at the time I thought, oh my goodness, like I felt so isolated because I also felt like I was the only one that had this. I mean, I am kind of the only one who had this lightning striking event having to their kids, but a lot of people have problems at birth and problems with their kids and ongoing problems. And I just didn't know anybody in my circle. So I thought, I'm going to start this blog, this One Fabulous Mom blog. So I started a blog, and then that kind of was great. That was great support. But then I just thought, like, over the years, I thought, gosh, I really want to reach more women, and I want it to be more interactive, not just me like writing, but like I want to have a platform. So I started the Warrior Moms, and it evolved into being, yes, put yourself back on the list. Even if you can't put yourself first, Elizabeth, mm-hmm. Can you put yourself on it? Mm-hmm. Just get yourself on that list. Because so many women I talked to were like, oh my gosh, I don't even know how to do that. and then you almost don't transition sometimes from like little kids to big kids. You just keep it going. You're like still bringing them their milk and their water and they're 14. They're 14. It's like, no, let him get his water. So that's sort of how it came to be, the Warrior Moms, from blogging up to kind of wanted to reach a bigger community.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's amazing. And I mean, I feel like it's great when that online community, when you can find community in it, especially right now with everything going on in the world. I feel like that's the only community that a lot of moms have is virtually. So thankfully it was something that was already started by, people like you that's been around for a while that, have already built kind of a sense of community, because, if it was like something that we were just now having to like be like, crap.
Oh my God. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. No, thank God it was already going on. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And the Warrior Moms also was a way for me to showcase moms. Because I would look for guest writers. Like I always want people to, I was just trying to figure out, like I was interviewing moms. I wanted to showcase moms. And then I just wanted more communication and connection. And I thought, oh, that's better than a blog. Like I'll have my Facebook page and the Instagram for the Warrior Moms so we can all, and I also just love to make moms laugh. So mm-hmm. That's the other thing too. If I find funny memes, I put them up, obviously, because we just all need to laugh, especially now.
Mm-hmm. I know.
Yes.
This is like a side note. My husband and I were, just laughing last night because this week I was dealing with a clogged milk duct, and my boob was hurting, and we were just like talking about different things in bed, and we were just laughing so hard, and we were both like, man, it just feels good to laugh, because it just seems like right now, like we have a 5-month-old and she brings us so much joy. But I still don't get tons of sleep, and yesterday he worked like a 14-hour day. So, we just have those little moments before bed to like reconnect, but like it did feel so good to like laugh really hard.
Yes. Yes. And it's so good that he's in the trenches with you like that. And, because that's what it really takes, right? To have a partner like that. You really have to be like, this is so crazy. Like we are crazy right now. Right. Like, you just have to look at each other and laugh. Like there's no other answer. Otherwise you'll start crying. So you just need to laugh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. How did you transition from, just kind of making your blog into podcasting, and what has been your favorite part of that?
Yeah, that was a I'm turning 50 thing. So my kids, just so you know, Elizabeth, my kids are like 14 and 11. Mm-hmm. And I do still bring my son a glass of milk because I love him that much. It's terrible. I need to stop. Anyway, yes. So I decided at 50 to start a podcast. I did not know what a podcast was. This was the funniest thing. I mean, you get older and you get really not brave at all, like at all. I was like, oh, I don't even know what a podcast, where is it on my phone? I mean, it was a joke. So I got myself together. I went to this firm, BH marketing firm, who I love, this girl, Becky, and she helped me launch the podcast. And it's been the greatest thing because I wanted to kind of also open it up to all women. I didn't want to just talk to moms. I was like, I want to talk to young women, old women, married women, single women, like anything. And I've met and talked to so many amazing warrior women through this time. And it's really kept me alive. Like during this crazy COVID, when there's like such a lack of inspiration sometimes and such a terrible feeling going on, I'm having these conversations with these women and they're telling me all the things they've been through and how they got through it. And I just like feel high afterwards. I'm like, oh my God. I go in the other room. I tell my husband, oh my God, I just talked to the most amazing woman. And it's literally every time. And I love it. Conversations with warrior women. It's just, I interviewed trailblazers and women leaping for greatness, and it's the best. Mm-hmm. I love it.
All right. We are going to take a quick break to talk about BetterHelp. I know that there can be some hesitancy to maybe seek professional counseling, or it might make you feel a little uncomfortable. And that's okay. I feel like there's kind of been some, negative talk maybe around that when you were growing up. But now I just feel like it's so important to break the stigma around taking care of your mental health. And that is why I am very vocal that I go to counseling and that I use BetterHelp, because it's so important. And I want to teach Jovi that taking care of your mental health is important and it's good. And if there's something that's coming up for you, that is a safe and private environment that you can connect with a professional therapist. And for me, parenting has done that. It's brought up like these different triggers in me that I didn't know were there, and different blocks to goals that I want to achieve in my life. So it's been really important for me to have a way to talk to somebody and to get some help to overcome some of that. And BetterHelp, they are just committed to facilitating great therapeutic matches for you to make it easy and convenient for you to connect with them. You can text, you can email, you can video chat, however you feel comfortable talking with them, you can do it. And it doesn't matter how little or large you think your problems are. It's always just great to, have that confidential space to share in. BetterHelp is convenient. They are professional. They are affordable. And you can check out the testimonials that are posted daily on their site. And in fact, people have been using BetterHelp so much that they are recruiting additional counselors in all 50 states. And I want you to take control of your mental health. And as a listener, you'll get 10% off your first month by visiting betterhelp.com/mamas. Join over 1 million people taking charge of their mental health. Again, that's BetterHelp, HELP.com/mamas. So why'd you choose the title Warrior Women?
That is a really good question. I'll tell you why. Because I think there is a time in every woman's life, moms as well, and usually, by the way, a lot of moms, where you are in the trenches. And I'm talking about you are in the mud, barbed wire over your back. For me, it was in the hospital with my son for 52 days. For me, it was just this Christmas. I spent the Christmas in the hospital with my daughter, who was just diagnosed with ulcerative colitis. That is in the trenches, barbed wire at your back, crawling through the mud, just saying to yourself, I hope I'm going to get out of this. And I feel like we are warriors. We're not born warriors, but we become that through these incredible things that we go through. So I just wanted to tell women, like, if you are going through, if you're in the trenches, if you feel like you can't go on, or you see something coming that's coming at you like this and you think you can handle it, you can handle it. Mm-hmm. You can do it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, that is so true. I feel like when you're in it, sometimes it's hard to see your way out, but then once you get to the other side, it's like, holy crap.
Yeah. And you know what? When you're on the floor, it's hard. I mean, I've been on the floor many times. When you're on the floor, it is really hard to also ask for help. Mm-hmm. And that's something I've really had to like work on because I like to help other people, but it's really hard to accept the help, but you have to accept the help. And you know what? You're blessing somebody else by saying, yes, okay, bring me that meal. They're so happy. They want to bring you that meal. They want to do something for you. So you kind of have to open your heart and say, let somebody be there for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I would love to talk about putting yourself on the list.
Yes.
Because I feel like there's part of, I guess, in the mommy culture, you hear a lot of people say, but you have to take care of yourself. You have to take care of yourself. And I feel like a lot of moms just kind of roll their eyes at that statement. But then
totally.
There's also,
especially when you have a 5-month-old. Hello.
I know, but I have to be honest though. I'm so blessed. Like my husband's just really awesome. And, if I ever do like need a moment or anything, he's, he'll take her, he'll do whatever. And now that she's starting to get on like a consistent bedtime, like last night I put her to bed, then we have a sauna at our house, which is awesome. So I went and sat in the sauna and then I took a bath and I read, and it was just like, I know that she's not going to wake up for at least a few more hours. So I have some time to just relax, and I do really try to like get everything done before she goes to bed. So once she goes to bed, I don't have anything to do. Like I can just either spend time with my husband or do something I want to do. But it's taken until like this last week to like start that. And then I'm like, man, what happens when we have another kid? And, you have to relearn everything over again.
Daunting.
Right. But I also feel like there is part in this mommy culture that it's almost like a comparison of who has it worse too, or, just kind of that mommy martyrdom where you feel like you're the only one who can do it the right way. So,
of course.
And I've had to tell myself, I'm like, my husband is a competent adult man who knows how to comfort our daughter. Maybe it's not the immediate comfort that I would give her, but he's her father and he knows, what to do. So, I just feel like though there's still that comparison of my kid almost needs me more than your kid needs you. Like you do this and you do that and your kid's fine, but my kid like needs me. So I can't put myself on that list. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah. I mean, listen, I came home with a kid with, a bloody arm. I mean, that's even more. And then on top of it, he started to have all the normal baby problems. Like he had acid reflux and he had all these things. So I had a baby for the first time. So I had like arm issues on top of everything else. So believe me, I totally get that. And I also think it's an evolution, of course it's hard. You're not going to put yourself top on the list when you have a newborn. I mean, you're going to have to put yourself on the list. Yes. But it's hard to put yourself at the top. I think it's a gradual thing that we do as our kids get older and they get more responsible and they are growing up. And it's just, that's, I think, where the drama really is where you don't know, kind of move on and say, oh, I'm going to like ramp myself up this list a little bit. But as kids get older, you really have to readjust your mind because for some reason we kind of keep it the same. You have to kind of start ramping yourself up that list as they become more independent and they do things on their own. You have to kind of transition yourself. And I think women, it's hard, especially because we want to feel important and we want to feel needed. And especially if we've kind of given up our job or we've said, all I want to do is be a mother. That's really important to us. So don't act like the husband's doing it as well. No, sir. Mm-hmm. So we want to feel like we're really needed and important and valuable because it's a really hard job and we're tired and we're breastfeeding and we're, not sleeping. So we want to feel like it's worth it. Like we're really, we're valued and we're doing a great job. I think the danger is not having anything for yourself. So if all you have is this mothering and then your husband comes in, then you're like, no. Like you have to have other things. You have to have maybe a girl group that you're kind of in, a book club. You can have, your job, a passion. You have to have things. Like I've always been a writer. So I always, I wrote all the time, even through pregnancy. And I always had kind of little side hustle jobs that I would do. Even like I would take a break, but then I would go back to it again because I needed something just kind of take my mind out of being a mother for a little bit and put on another hat. That worked really well for me. But I think even for people who don't want a side hustle, I mean, even this podcast for you, right? Like this is a way for you to, you're a mother, but it's a way for you to not be a mother for a little bit. Like you don't have your baby right now. Like you're here talking to me. I think you find those little points for yourself so that it's not so loaded. Like your mothering is not like, the only thing you have in the whole world. It can't be like that because it's just too much pressure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. That makes total sense. I relate with that because I love being needed.
Yes.
I do. And I know that I don't know where the healthy boundary in that is, but like, I'm very much like, I don't know. Do you know anything about the Enneagram?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So I'm a 2 on the Enneagram, which is the helper. And, basically like you need to be
That's
needed.
That's my third position.
Oh, okay.
Yes, but I know.
Yeah. So basically 2's like, you need to be needed. And like, it's just, I don't know. But part of that too is that you do everything for everyone. And then you hit this point where you're like, what about me? What are you going to do for me? Like then you kind of have that breakdown. So it's like good to be aware of it before you hit that point.
Yes.
But I do love being needed. So motherhood is just so fulfilling for me in that way.
But that's great though. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think that, as and you're in the zone right now, you're in the baby zone. That is yummy time. The baby smells so good, snuggling. You are in yummy time. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with just staying in yummy time and enjoying your life. Go to baby Vegas. You don't know what time of day it is. Did we unload the dishwasher? Have I taken a shower? I have no idea. I think it's kind of where you are supposed to be. There's a girl that came on my podcast and she said something really wise. She said, first things first and second things never. And I was like, oh, wow, that's kind of true. You can't multitask your way through a newborn and breastfeeding. And, you don't need to do that. It's okay to say first things first, but then, make sure like you're doing sauna, bath, like you're giving yourself something so that you're not like looking at your husband like, can you take him? Can you take the baby? Like you don't want to be that person, right? So the way you don't have to be that person is you are reading, you are taking a bath, you are in the sauna. Like you need to have that alone time so that you can show up and be fully present and be the awesome mother that you are meant to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've definitely had those moments where I've snapped a couple times. I think because the sleep deprivation is real. Like nobody prepares you for that. And it's definitely gotten a lot better. But, when she was going through her first 4-month sleep regression, it was just absolutely horrible. And she was up every couple of hours. And we just had a really, really hard time sleeping and juggling it. And I had some snapping moments.
No, baby's not sleeping is not good for our mental health.
No, I guess I don't see how, I feel like it is getting easier because she's my only kid, so I'm like, okay, I can balance one. So I'm able to take some time for myself, but how do people balance more than one and take time?
Right. Right. Listen, I'm not going to say I didn't have a nanny help me, so I'm not a good person to ask maybe, but I had someone help like a couple days in the week, and that really helped me so much. But it's a juggling act. Even with help, I felt like I was never in the right place or doing all the things I needed to be doing. I think it's a lot of letting go of your own expectations because really they are happy. They're just happy you're there. Like they really, and the thing that really is frustrating me, and you're not going to like this answer, but I took these kids everywhere. When I tell you, I took them to Disneyland 4,000 times. I took them to every science. If there was some edible to see, I took them. They don't remember anything. Nothing. They don't remember anything until 7 or 8 years old. So it was funny to me because I'm like, well, my gosh, I could have just stayed in the house that whole time. just wouldn't have, I could have just walked around the block a couple times, seen some friends, but I had it going. I was like a full kindergarten teacher. I was doing everything on the earth. So I feel like it's also like, you got to kind of pull back and say, what is really important? What's really important is my baby is loved and fed and cared for. That is really what's now. If you go above and beyond that and you take them to see the space shuttle, you are winning. But if you just feed them and they're clothed and they're happy and they're with you, you're kind of winning the game. So you need to kind of like talk yourself off the ledge from being like the superhuman, I'm going to take 2 of these kids and we're going to do all this stuff. Cause like sometimes, sometimes you need to just let yourself off the hook and say, we're going to stay home today. It's going to be great, and it's going to be what it is,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But it isn't easy. It's not easy with 2, but I will also say that you have to give it to the first one because the baby is the baby. The baby is just like hanging around. It's the other one. I mean, when that other one comes, they're like, what? Because they were your number one. Mm-hmm. So they feel really displaced.
Yeah.
Baby comes.
Yeah. I mean, we'll just definitely have to deal with that when that comes. That makes me nervous too. I always tell my husband, I'm like, I don't know how is there more room in my heart to like love another kid. I'm like, we can't have another kid because then we're not going to love Jovi as much. Like, how does that just like continue to grow? But it does, you don't obviously love them any less.
How do you love your baby after you love your husband? It's the same thing, right? Like it's a different love. It's a greater love. It's an expanding thing. It really is kind of the genius of it all, right? Like that we have that capacity to love like that.
Mm-hmm. All right. We are going to take a quick break. So I can tell you about one way that I like to de-stress a little bit. Life can have its little annoyances. Like for me this week, it's been cleaning baby poop out of a bathtub a few times, cleaning it off of the blanket and off of my clothes. I don't understand how this happens. When you have kids, it just gets everywhere. And a lot of spit up. So, one way that I like to just unwind and blow off some steam is playing the game Best Fiends. It is the top-rated mobile puzzle adventure game. I like it because I am competitive. So whenever I pass somebody in a level that I know, because you can connect with friends there, it just fuels me to keep going because I love a little friendly competition. And, right now I'm not seeing a lot of people. So it's nice to have Best Fiends to compete against some of my friends. And it's also nice to just have a way to unwind. You also can compete with yourself. Well, for me, because I'm competitive, gaining more characters, advancing more levels. I am in the thousands right now. And you know what? I thought maybe they would run out of levels, but they have not. So it's just fun to be able to de-stress that way. And they're always changing things up on there. And they have different themes. So every single month there's new themes. There's different challenges for you to participate in if you want to. And it's just a great way to blow off some steam and, just kind of engage your mind in some puzzle. I know dealing with kids all day, sometimes you just want something a little bit different. So don't blame us if you end up being kind of obsessed with it. Download Best Fiends free today on the Apple App Store or Google Play. That's Friends without the R, Best Fiends. Now back to the episode. I feel like the hard thing with this last year, though, and having a baby during a pandemic, and then now I live outside Chicago, and the high this week is 12 degrees. So,
woo!
Yeah, getting out with a baby is hard. Like I still haven't taken my daughter anywhere. Like if I have to run to the grocery store, I drop her off at my mother-in-law's and I go. Cause I'm like, I don't want to, first of all, I don't know how to juggle, a baby and a shopping cart and, everything.
And COVID.
Right. It's like I don't want to take her there right now. And just on top of that, it's cold and flu season and it's, people have germs and I'm not even a germaphobe. It's just when you have a kid, you just start becoming like hyper aware of that stuff. And, so I've been getting that feeling lately. I'm like, I need to get out. I need to do something. But it's freaking freezing out. Like it's so limited on what you can do. And I feel like that's where it's hard to put yourself on that list, because you kind of just feel stuck.
Yes. Yeah. I think though, you got to come up with all those other things like we're talking about, whether it's you're getting on a Zoom with a bunch of girls and you're having a glass of wine, or you're with one girlfriend on a Zoom and in that day, you're going to have one great conversation, right? You're going to have one woman who's going to be like, oh, and just be like, you're doing a great job. Oh my gosh. All the things. And then doing those baths and and working out, moving your body, all those things, or even making it about like making a kind of like a date, right? Where you're having an inside date. Like my husband and I have like gotten so creative. We're hilarious. We like do theme nights. We're like, we're going to watch The Godfather and make pizza. We just like anything we can do to make anything magic and special. We just try. Mm-hmm. And we've been trying like a bunch of new recipes and different things, like healthier things. And it's been really great. And we're working out together. I think that as many things like that also as you can do together, right? Like you can be with your husband, it's a break, but then it's also self-care. Like that's, hitting all the birds with many stones. But I think you're right. It's hard. I mean, I don't want to go out in 12-degree weather. No, thank you.
Mm-hmm. I know. Well, last year it didn't bother me too much. Like I could go for a little bit because I love just like taking my dog for walks, but bringing a baby in it is like a whole new thing. Yesterday we actually did go out for like a 15-minute walk, and I had her like so bundled up and in the stroller and cover. I like read about it. I talked to this lady who lives in Finland and got advice, she actually lives in Finland, and got advice from her. And I'm like, okay, so we went out for like 15 minutes and then like came back in because I'm like, nervous.
That's good though. I mean, who wants to spend a lot of time outside freezing? I mean, I think that's good, right? Like, and I think that's a good little goal. Like if it's freezing, I'm going to go out for 15 minutes. I'm going to come back. Like, I think that's a win. Like you got to give yourselves these wins, and like not act like they're little things. You got big things. Like I did that. That was good. Like that is an accomplishment.
Mm-hmm. So I know that, kind of what you're saying, what inspired you to do the podcast and everything was coming on to your, approaching your 50th birthday. And you just kind of were in a funk in your life or just kind of not happy with where things are at. I'd love to kind of dive into that a little bit.
Well, I think every woman goes through a midlife crisis in all the different times. It could be 25, it could be 35, it could be 40, it could be 50, it could be 60. But there's always times in our lives where we're like, what am I doing? Like, what is really happening? I think it's because life kind of goes fast. And then sometimes we wake up and we're like, what's happening? Or something happens. But for me, I think I was just like over the years kind of like, doing jobs that I wasn't really like that crazy about just because people were like, hey, we'll pay you to do this. I'd be like, okay, and I was like, my kids were getting older, so they were kind of like, moving on a little bit. And I was just like, what am I doing? Like, what's for me, And I think it was also, I had like for years been doing like the weight battle ever since having babies. I don't think I ever lost that weight. And I think I just, over the years, I'm very tall, so I can get away with it. But I think I was like not happy with my body. I was just bored and not happy and didn't know what to do about it and kind of in a funk. And when I thought about it, I realized like, okay, this is what it is that I'm not still. Like I'm such a talker. I never sit and ponder these things. Like, what do I want to do? How do I want to come into this 50th birthday? And when I really thought about it, I was like, you know what? I'm declaring D-Day on this weight thing. I hired a personal trainer. I, started working out right away. I had some kind of like funky, toxic stuff in my family that I decided I'm going to let that go. I started the podcast because I was like, I need something new and I need to challenge myself. Like I just kind of set some goals for myself and then slowly kind of knock them down. And it felt so much better. I think just also new things, new challenges, new goals that makes us feel better, and I have accountability. I have girlfriends who I'm like, they're like, now what's happening? I think that's also something else we need is accountability. But yeah, as you get older, like things change and your priorities change and the way your days are working changed. And so what's nice about now having kids this age is they're really excited about my podcast. Mm-hmm. Like I tell them, I say, oh my gosh, yesterday I was talking to this woman and she started this depression research foundation and she's amazing and she lives in Palm Beach and she's 70 and she's gorgeous. And I was just like telling the kids about her and they're like interested. They're like, oh, well, so, yeah, like, it's so that's fun, right? Like, I think that's the evolution too. When you put yourself back on the list, you have to share it with your family, share it with your kids. Like, oh, this is what mommy's doing. Like, and they're really impressed. They're like, oh, you have a podcast. Should I take the dogs in my room? Are you having a podcast? Like, they're just so cute about it. Mm-hmm. So I think that's the transition too, is like moving the kids because they're the center, right? Like they're everything. It's all you can talk about. They're everything to you. And then it becomes, you have to share yourself with them. And I think that's a really great transition.
Mm-hmm. You also brought up another point though of, you're just kind of like, what am I doing? And I just feel like it's never like, there's never a point in your life where you can't restart or do something new or take on, a new passion or hobby or job. And I think that that's kind of what hits a lot of moms though, is like they've been momming for so long and that's kind of became their identity. So once they are a little bit older and their kids have more freedom and maybe don't quote unquote need them as much anymore, it's like, now what?
Yes. But see, that's where I think I belong to many female networking groups. And what they are is not competitive at all. They are collaboration like hubs. And one of them is called More Than Me. It's a national group. I run the LA chapter now. That's how much I loved it. The Los Angeles chapter of More Than Me. But they have networking opportunities and there's girls that are all different ages. And they're like, what am I doing? Or I think I want to do this. Should I do this? And we're all like this. Yes, girl, do that thing. You can do it. And then we hire her or we're her first clients or she tries her pitch on us or she, that's what it's all about is having that support of women. I think what's weird about being a mother too. Part of us wants to hide our tough times. Like, oh no, I'm doing it great over here. Nothing's wrong. I'm great. I'm the perfect mother. I'm not having a bad time. Mm-hmm. No. I think you have to be truthful and you got to get that girl support from the get-go. And I didn't have the choice. I went to hell with my kid when he first arrived. So people knew my stuff was crazy. I couldn't even lie about it and be like, it's great. Everyone knew it wasn't great. Hello. Mm-hmm. So I feel like that was kind of the greatest gift in the world to me. It just made me just real. And I was fully willing to say to a girlfriend, you are not okay. Are you okay right now? You don't look good, So I do that from others. I like that, I like that real talk. And I think you need that support when you're going to try something new or you're saying, okay, my kid's now 6, my kid's 7. I want to start a new career. I want to start a new this. I want to, I want to see if this is a good idea. I think you need those networking groups, those really tight girl gangs that can support you.
Mm-hmm. I feel like confidence also takes a big hit especially for women who leave the workforce to raise children and then want to enter it again. They haven't done a job interview in how many years, or they haven't, just kind of been in that position. And I feel like just kind of that confidence to re-enter or even pursue or put yourself out there, kind of takes a hit. And I feel like you have so much more to offer. Like you've been taking care of human beings. You've been raising them. You've been, in the trenches at points. You know what it's like to juggle, feeding your family and getting them on time to things and, keeping up with whatever you have to keep up with. And I almost feel like you have so much more to offer, whatever field you're going back into. But, I don't know why it seems like kind of that confidence takes a hit.
Well, it's also a stigma that we're still working through, as if mothers can't do anything else, mm-hmm. or once you're a mother, your brain is gone or something, or it's a weird respect thing. that I think we have to all, as women, break through and say, no, I'm going to do this and I can do it. And I don't need anybody telling me I can do it because I know that I can. I think you just have to rely, again, on your inner strength, the support of a great husband and great girlfriends, and just push yourself, because we need to show the world that mothers, among anyone in the whole world, who knows, who do you want to run the country more than a mother? Mm-hmm. I do. Mm-hmm. I know mothers can run everything. I want mothers to run all the companies. I want mothers to run all forms of government. I want mothers. My girlfriend runs this political action committee called Moms in Office. I give her all my damn money. I'm like, yes, every mom in office, please. Because these people know how to do a budget.
Yeah.
They know how to be a good leader and not tear people's heads off. Mm-hmm. They know how to be sensitive. I mean, these are the perfect people to be in charge of everything. Mm-hmm. So I think we have to push. You have to push yourself. Put yourself out there in your community. And you know what? I get sometimes, I mean, I did the whole PTA. I was a PTA president. I mean, listen, if there was a job at my kids' school, I have done it. Mm-hmm. I have built playgrounds. I have raised money. I would encourage women, as much as I want you to volunteer at your kids' school, I like that. That's fine. Okay, great. Volunteer in other ways. Get yourself out in the community. Do something that's not related to your kid. You can do those things too. You can still be a room mom. Go ahead. Mm-hmm. But do something else. Volunteer in a different way. Politically, in your community, organize something, a fundraising arm of something totally different. Give yourself that experience first as a little part-time gig. Then when your kids are older, you can kind of move into bigger and better things. But that's a little great way to kind of keep something going for yourself that's not such a commitment, but it gives you the juice, that you feel like you're out there, you're using your brain, you're talking to people are treating you well. I think that's kind of a good first step.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. I mean, like you said, kind of everything goes around the kids, they're everything. Yes. And then you kind of go out from there. But I mean, I feel like all this stuff sounds good of taking time for yourself and doing that. I still feel like moms kind of do that eye roll though. Maybe you just don't get it. You just don't understand. Even to other moms who are in the same thing and doing the same thing. So maybe what could just be a first small step that somebody listening who desperately needs to put themselves on the list, but just can't, could do?
Yeah. I would say give yourself 15 minutes. Mm-hmm. 15 minutes. And you can set the timer if it's stressing you out. Fine. 15 minutes. And in that 15 minutes, you have to do something for yourself. Is it reading a book? Is it taking a bath? Is it going outside on a little tiny walk? Is it, I don't care what, calling a girlfriend? Whatever that thing is, give yourself 15 minutes. Start with that. Then expand it. If you can get to an hour, great. If you can get to 2 hours, fantastic. I mean, I am telling you, I used to think these mothers that did things were like horrible people. I was like, how could she leave your kid for even a second? I'm telling you, as a mother of a 14 and 12-year-old person, do the stuff for yourself. I'm telling you, you don't win. No one's going to come with the gold medal for you. No one's coming. They're not doing a Mother Olympics. There is no gold medal. No one's coming with the prize to your door. So really, you need to think about yourself a little bit so that you can be the great mother and you can smile and really mean it when you tell your girlfriends, I'm doing great. You don't want to be lying and saying, I'm doing great, but you're not. Mm-hmm. So I feel like if you can give yourself, start with 15 minutes and then expand from there. Because I really understand that. I was this person. I'm not kidding you. I was like, no, I can't even leave the house. I can't have 15 minutes. And especially because I was afraid for my kid. I thought especially if you have a kid with any special needs, that is the worst. You're not going to give yourself that 15 minutes. Hell no. Mm-hmm. I'm telling you, it's an order. If you're not worth 15 minutes, let's just really be real for a minute now. If you're not worth 15 minutes, that is really sad, right? Worth way more than 15 minutes. So give yourself the 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, and you're teaching your children how to self-nurture and self-care. If they see you never taking time for yourself or or investing in your passions, your dreams, your hobbies, or just what makes you feel good or your nourishment, then your kids won't know to do that either.
Yeah, and you don't want to see your kids to see an angry, because I'm telling you that resentment builds. Mm-hmm. You think you're cool now, right? You're giving everything to this kid. You're like, I'm going to give everything to this baby. I'm going to win the gold medal that's imaginary. I'm doing it. I'm better than my husband. My mother's not even this good. I am it. I am the one that baby only doesn't stop crying if I hold it. I'm the best one. I make the vegetables for them. I boil them myself. I'm a winner. Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Eventually, that resentment build up, this little resentment seed gets planted where you're tired. You feel like people will start letting you do it, by the way. They'll start backing off like, oh, okay, you want to do everything? Here you go. Mm-hmm. Husbands will start peeling off. Oh, I'm going to go do something with my guy friends. That sounds good. I'm going to go work now. If you don't start giving away some of this responsibility, you'll have a little resentment seed and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And then before you know it, you are snapping at your husband. You are resentful if he leaves the house. You hate your girlfriend who looks like they have it all together. You're mad at your girlfriend because she's working out and you're not. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's the stuff that happens. So you almost have to preemptively strike and say, no. I'm going to force myself for this 15 minutes. I'm going to force myself to let my husband give this baby a bath without me. It might kill me. I'm going to lock myself in the room and put my headphones on and not listen, whatever it takes. But you have to start kind of, taking care of yourself, put yourself back on the list. Even if you're way down, put yourself on there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so true. And I mean, I know I'm coming from like no experience. I've been a mom for 5 months. But, you have
a lot of experience already.
Yeah. I mean, my husband and I are both the youngest in our families, and we have big families, and I'm a birth worker, so I'm in that community. So, and just even from doing the podcast and interviewing amazing women, you just kind of learn and see these things. And they all say the same thing. Like all of them say, make time for yourself, whatever. And but then there's still, the people that are like, I can't. And then eventually you hit that breaking point where you're going to have no choice but to, otherwise you're just going to lose it.
Right. And you have to ask yourself, if you won't take 15 minutes, why?
Yeah.
What are you really afraid of? Mm-hmm. Right? Are you afraid something's going to really happen to your baby? Like, are you having anxiety about your baby, like getting hurt or something happening? Is it that you don't want to be away from your baby for a second because you just feel so in love and but you have anxiety over that? Like, what? Dig down in there and say to yourself, why won't I give myself 15 minutes? Like, what is that about? Do you think you're not worthy of it? Mm-hmm. I mean, I think there's an answer there, because you should be able to give themselves 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Tell us a little bit more before we wrap up about your community.
Yes. So the Warrior Moms, we were doing events. Now it's COVID.
Yeah.
The Warrior Moms community is an online community of moms. You can go to thewarriormoms.co and you can get my e-blast, but we're also on Facebook. We're on Instagram. I do, webinars and seminars and different Zooms and all, because that's what we have to do right now. But more than anything, it's just a place to kind of be in community. The podcast also is a great extension of that, Conversations with Warrior Moms, with Warrior Women, sorry. And I think, having this community of moms, these hard charging moms who are either just starting out like you, or they've, older than me and their kids are in college. This is what's funny. You can't believe me, right? You can't even believe you're going to get there. I have friends that like all their kids are in college and they're home in their house alone. And I'm like, what? I'm going to college with my son. I already told him I'd be his roommate. I'm so confused. Like, what do you mean how could you not know where they are every minute of the day? I can't even imagine. Like the other day, my husband's like, well, he's going to get his driver's license. I was like, don't you ever say that again. Don't you ever. So I think what's funny, right, is we all can't imagine the next stage, but we all kind of have to listen to each other, because we can't imagine it, but there's someone right now living it, and you're going to be there someday. So you might as well listen, right? Mm-hmm. That's the beauty of these communities. Is I love to hear from other moms who are way ahead of where I am, or right where I am, or just like you, like just new on the journey. It's interesting. We can all be there for each other and we can all understand. I mean, like literally, I would not take 15 minutes for myself. That's why I'm telling you to take 15 minutes for yourself, because I was that person. So, and I think it's really good to learn from each other as moms. I really do.
Oh yeah. I can't, when you're saying that, I can't picture myself not being a helicopter mom. I'm going to be hovering over my child wherever they are at, because I'm like, I can't picture her riding her. I can't just let her ride her bike down the street. Are you kidding me? Like, how am I supposed to do that? But then, like you have to.
Yeah. Yeah. It is. And you know what? Every step is hard. I mean, the letting go, like my son has a quote unquote girlfriend. He's 14. Okay. It's a quote unquote girlfriend because obviously I am not letting one thing happen. He's 14 years old, but they like each other and they hold hands and they're best friends and they've been best friends for 2 years. And so, I let them get together. I'm there, of course, with the other mother, talk about helicopters.
Yeah.
And I guess what I'm saying is, even that's a hard stage for me. Like, oh my gosh, she likes this girl. But then there's a beauty in that too, right? There's a beauty in that. And there's a beauty when your daughter is going to ride that bike. Is it terrifying? Hell to the yes, it is. You're going to be looking out the window every 5 seconds. Don't kid yourself. But there's a beauty of that. And that she's going to be so excited she can do it and feel independent. And we want all these things for them. It's just hard because you just see, you feel the little rope getting thinner. You're like, wait, no. But I think that's healthy, right? Like what we really want is independent, wonderful, kind, sweethearted, loving children out in the world. That's what we want. I mean, I want my loving, sweet children out in the world doing great things, but I want them also to stay home with me. Yes. So it's a hard thing. It's really hard, but it never is not hard. Right? Right. I mean, my friends with the kids in college, they're like, oh my God, I want them to come home, but it is. This is what it is, but this is the ride we're on. This is the ride we bought the ticket for.
Oh, I know. No going back.
No going back.
So where's the best place for people to find and follow you?
They can follow me on The Warrior Moms Instagram or on Warrior Women Pod, which is the podcast Instagram. And you can also subscribe to the emails at thewarriormoms.co.
Awesome. I just want to thank you so much for coming on and giving us your time and energy and your advice. I mean, I liked how you're just saying, like, there's not going to be a gold medal waiting for you if you do it all.
Yes. No prizes. No prizes.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I thank you so much. It was great talking to you. And I love hearing about your journey and where you are. And you're doing a great job. I mean, my God, the fact that you're taking a bath in a sauna, you are winning this game.
Trying. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much. I enjoyed chatting with her. It's always great just to kind of feed off other moms' energy and to be inspired by them. It is, you guys, Black History Month, and I wanted to pay some tribute to Margaret Charles Smith. She was a Black midwife in rural Alabama in the 1900s. She was born in 1906, and she delivered her first baby when she was only 5 years old, helping her cousin's wife give birth when he left to go retrieve the midwife. She continued to learn about midwifery all through grade school, and it was really hard to earn money in rural Alabama as a midwife, as mothers could not always afford to pay, but she continued her work because of her love of helping others. She would travel sometimes 200 miles to a hospital that was one of the first hospitals ever to admit Black patients if one of her patients needed emergency treatment. She was awarded the keys to her own town in Alabama in 1983 for all of the amazing work that she had done as a midwife. Along with midwifery, she also loved farming, and she continued to farm all the way up until her death in 2004. I can't believe that she helped deliver her first baby when she was 5 years old. Oh my gosh. If you guys haven't checked out the history of granny midwives, that's something super interesting to check out. There's a video on Vimeo. I've seen a few going around on social media, but basically granny midwives helped birth so many babies throughout the rural South, and they provided care to pregnant women across the South, and they were basically the only option for so many people, because when hospitals were out of reach for pregnant women to travel to, and they have a history of service to their community. And then in 1952, there was an informational documentary film for the Georgia Department of Public Health that helped observe Mary Coley's work, that she was one of the granny midwives. But there was, it's pretty crazy because they did so much work in the communities, and then it kind of goes to show, like, how did this tradition become completely eradicated? Like, basically then the black midwives were replaced by white hospital workers and hospitals. And it's kind of a lost art that we actually really need back in the United States. So there's a lot of great information about that. So I encourage you to check that out. Spend some time this month learning some Black history. Next week, we also have an amazing episode for you guys. And then I am going on the Warrior Women podcast to chat with Liz about some of my own stuff. So I will let you guys know when that episode comes out. I hope you have a great week. I love you guys, and we'll talk to you next week.
If you want to be the most interesting person at the cocktail party, well, hop on over and listen to the Brain Candy Podcast.
Our award-winning content will have you laughing whilst you're learning.
We read all the best articles, books, and studies, and keep up with new TV shows, documentaries, and pop culture. Then cram it all into 2 shows a week.
Conspiracy theories, cannibal rabbits, unsolved mysteries, the history of the Walkman. There's something for everyone.
The Brain Candy Podcast. Find our link in the show notes.
Or simply search for the Brain Candy Podcast on your podcast app.